Hey guys, MJ675 here, and welcome back to another episode of my organizing Lego series. It's been a while since I made one of these, but we are back, this time with the box storage kind of episode video thing. So more specifically, regarding box storage, we're going to be talking about kind of the different choices you have, really, to store your boxes. And those are to dispose of your boxes, to display them, or to collapse them and kind of just put them somewhere else. And then we'll also briefly touch on canisters and what you can do with those if you collected Bionicle or some of the Hero Factory sets. Back when those were out, they came with canisters, so I thought we'd briefly talk about that because I do happen to have a bunch of canisters. So, as far as things go, the first thing we'll talk about is just disposing of boxes. Obviously, that's not what you're looking at because there's a bunch of Lego boxes right here, as you can all see. Obviously, if you dispose of your boxes, whether that's recycling, just throwing them away, lighting them on fire, which I don't necessarily advise doing that one, but it is an option, and if you do it safely, it can be interesting. But pick your poison. If you're disposing of boxes, obviously you don't need to store boxes, so you can pretty much disregard everything that I say in this video regarding boxes in that case. We'll talk about canisters and if disposing of them even makes sense, I guess, maybe. I don't know, in a bit. But yeah, obviously if you're disposing of your boxes in whatever way you so choose, you don't really need to store them because they are getting removed from wherever you keep your Lego stuff pretty regularly, so you don't need to worry too much about that if you're throwing away your boxes. The cool thing about that is that it saves you some nice space, which, obviously having something like this takes up space. So if I wasn't doing this and I just threw away my boxes, then I would have the space there. Don't know what I would do with it, but I would have it, so that's interesting. Then the other kind of bad thing, and this is more like either if you like looking at your boxes, obviously you won't have them, and then kind of if you make like YouTube videos and you need like the box of an old set for something, obviously if you throw your boxes away, you're not going to have access to that. So yeah. It's really whether or not you keep boxes or not is just a matter of preference or available space. For me, I've always kept boxes. Obviously I don't have all the boxes for all the sets that I have, being displayed or anything, but I do keep pretty much all the boxes of Lego sets that I get. So, again, if you throw them away or dispose of them, you don't really need to worry about storing them. But the rest of the video, at least in regards to boxes, is going to be talking about what you do if you keep your boxes around. The first thing is what we're actually looking at right now, which is the first choice that you have is to display your boxes, and that could mean any number of things. Obviously, as you see here, I have a whole bunch of Lego boxes just kind of hanging out. And these, just for full clarification, these are all boxes of sets that I have opened and built. There are no sealed sets in this or anything. These are all just empty boxes. So yeah, there's that. And as you can see, we got quite a variety here. We've got the OG battle packs, the Lego Ideas Ship in a Bottle set. You can see the 2007 AT-AP poking out there, the TIE Defender in the back. There's a whole bunch of boxes. There's even like more over there from some more recent stuff. But yeah, there's just a whole lot of boxes, just kind of all piled into this one area to fill out this kind of weird gap that I have just with how my furniture is set up in my room. So that's nice that it kind of puts something there and takes that space up, so that's kind of cool. But really, the main value of displaying boxes is that, one, it gives you something to do with them, I guess, if you weren't throwing them away. And two, they happen to look nice, and, maybe not for everyone, but for me, I try to keep a lot of the sets that I'm more, like, nostalgic towards, as far as the boxes and kind of this display thing here, as well as some cooler recent sets as well. You can see the droid gunship down there. That falls more into the cooler recent sets category. But you've also got, boxes in here from sets like the OG battle packs, the Clone Scoutwalker battle pack, the 2007 AT-APs right there. Just some things that for me are pretty nostalgic as well. So, yeah, obviously, you're not going to be collapsing boxes. Probably the biggest issue with this would be space, and of course, very large boxes. And then there's certain kind of sizes of boxes, which if I move the camera up, you can see the Minecraft boxes up there from the original 4 Minecraft sets that were like the micro scale sets. Some boxes are very particularly shaped, so finding something to do with them can be a challenge. In this particular case for the Minecraft set boxes, that was a good thing because they fit perfectly in between this gap right here between the rail of my bed and my table, which is actually pretty cool. But of course, if you have some weirdly shaped boxes and you don't have something specific that necessarily works for them, it can be a bit of a problem to find space for them. Again, really, if you want to display your boxes, that's your call. Again, I'm just here with this series to present the options available to you and kind of talk about those a bit. But really, the main takeaways is that the good things of displaying the boxes is that, one, it gives you something to do. Two, they're nice to look at. And three, if you have a bunch of Lego stuff in your room, it's a nice little aesthetic, something nice you can do to kind of show more Lego stuff without necessarily having to put Lego sets or something in this weird space right here. So that's pretty cool. The cons, of course, are one, that it takes up space, and particularly with that, obviously, this is not the most effective method of storing your boxes as far as space is concerned. If you're looking for space efficiency and you don't really care about looking at them, probably don't display your boxes, and probably do the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is collapsing your boxes. So in regards to collapsing boxes, as you can see here, I have an ATA box, obviously the newer one from 2019, not the 2007 one. Still a cool set though, but I have this box here, and this looks pretty much like a normal box because obviously this box is not collapsed or anything. But if we take a look inside of here, we can see that there are a bunch of boxes that I have collapsed and are storing in here. So let's see what's in here. There's an A-wing box. That's pretty epic. Here there's a fire truck box. Just kind of some random boxes from Lego sets. I'm sure there are more in there, but you get the idea. Pretty much what you do is you just cut the tape on this end of the box, cut the tape on this end of the box. You would if you were collapsing it, and then kind of just flatten the box or collapse it, and then it's a flat little thing that takes up less space. And if you have smaller ones, you can stuff them in a slightly larger box like I did with this one. And of course, if you have one of those massive boxes from one of the huge sets, you can even probably collapse stuff like this and shove it in there. But really, the main benefit to collapsing boxes is that it is more space efficient, and it's better than hacking your boxes into pieces, because you can, just put new tape on, and if you need the box, you have the box. So, boom, there you go. Problem solved. Box has been reestablished. So really, main pros of this is that, one, it is space efficient. Two, it's not very expensive. You're pretty much creating by subtracting here, just by cutting tape and then just folding it. So it's not like you need something crazy like with storing parts that's super expensive. And that goes for pretty much all of these methods. I think the most expensive thing you would need as far as storing boxes go is something like a garbage bag and maybe some twine, because that's what I do with a lot of my set boxes, when they're not being displayed over there, and they're not like just collapsed because I've gotten them recently. What I'll do is I'll take all of the collapsed boxes, I will put similar sized ones together, tie them together with twine so none of them go anywhere, and then I pretty much just throw them in a garbage bag and then throw them like in some storage area or something. That works pretty well for me, and that's what I would probably recommend that you do if you are going to be collapsing boxes, because obviously you can do something like this, but really you're not getting the most bang for your buck as far as space efficiency goes, because you've got this whole box here which is still taking up space, and it's less space than it would take up if all the boxes were still together as the actual boxes as you got them. But if you collapse this too and then put that in a garbage bag, you can fit more in there and it takes up even less space. So that's really good. But the main benefits again are takes up less space while still you can recreate the box if you need it. Takes up less space. You can chuck it in a garbage bag, chuck the garbage bag somewhere. It's a lot more versatile than just displaying your boxes. And really, I don't think twine or garbage bags are ridiculously expensive. And to be fair, they're probably things that you have already, so you don't need to go out and spend more money on them or anything like that. Obviously, I think the major con with this is, one, you don't have like a factory conditioned taped box, like I kind of do here. Obviously, if you want it to be fully taped up, you're gonna probably just not open the set at all. So there's that. But also, you don't get to look at it, and that's probably not a big deal for a lot of people. But for me, I have my little display area over there, and I like that. And I kind of just use Lego boxes to generally just fill in kind of the blank spaces, or just the little empty crevices that things could fall into easily in here, as I do a lot of work with the actual pieces and things as opposed to the boxes. But really, if you're not going to be looking at your boxes, I think that this is probably the most logical thing to do with them. In fact, it's the only other thing that I really came up with besides throwing them away. So yeah, there might be more options out there. Like, I'm sure you could like cut the picture of the set out and make like a scrapbook of them. But really, I just don't think stuff like that is super practical. Really, the main things that it comes down to when you're dealing with your boxes is, are you going to throw it away? Are you going to display it and kind of just keep it as a box? Or are you going to collapse it and then chuck it somewhere? So that's kind of all I have to say in regards to boxes. Again, the main purpose of the box, and this is not something I said, but the main purpose of the box is to pretty much just bring the set to you in a nice, easy package. But they're cool. They're cool, kind of cool things to have around. If you like looking at them, you can do something where you stack the boxes up like I did. You can even, if you have smaller boxes, you can even put boxes inside of boxes, which is pretty nice. Or, if you don't like that, collapse them, or maybe just throw them away because you just don't care. But that is all for boxes, so now we'll briefly take a look at some canisters. Okay, so this is part of my room where I have a couple Bionicle canisters just kind of hanging out. As you can see, these are the Bionicle ones. There are Hero Factory canisters as well, and I'm assuming that this advice probably applies to them as well because they're both canisters. But I just have a lot of Bionicle ones, so do what you need to with what you have. But of course, as far as canisters go, throwing them away is really impractical. I'm sure you could do it. They're probably recyclable. Don't quote me on that. I don't know because I don't throw away my canisters. But even like compared to boxes, there's something you're less likely to throw away because they're plastic, and they're just kind of like cooler packaging. I don't know. Maybe that's something with the older Bionicle ones, but they're just cooler to have than boxes are, in my opinion. And also, they're just fun, even more fun to look at because they have interesting shapes. But as far as storing canisters go, your options are far more limited. You're probably not going to want to throw these things away, so we'll just kind of write that off. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter as long as you dispose of it safely and what you do with them. Of course, you can display them. You can't really collapse canisters too well, except for maybe those like Avmatorn build sets where they have like the cardboard in between the two plastic bits. You can see that I'm just missing some of the cardboard pieces from a couple of mine. You can obviously collapse that, but for a lot of the bigger ones, like the kind of mainline sets, your Toa and whatever your other villain is, it's a lot harder to collapse these because they're not held up by tape like boxes. You can't like slash tape or something and then have them magically condense. So your options are quite a bit more limited. Really, it comes down to either obviously you can throw them away, but really, who's going to do that? You either display them like something like this, you kind of make a pile of them somewhere, or you just throw them in a garbage bag and chuck them somewhere. Because really, you can't collapse them, so there's not too many other options. Pros and cons for displaying and I guess collapsing are more or less the same. Obviously, canisters are cool to look at. I said canners, I don't know what that even means, but canisters are cool to look at. So you probably would want to display them anyway. But of course, what you do with them, you can put them on a shelf, you can kind of stack them up on the floor in a vague triangle shape like I did. I'm leaning over to where I have a stack of my large pick-a-brick cups just kind of hanging out. And of course there's canisters from non-Bionicle sets as well. You can see there are some creator canisters. If I tilt the camera up, and there's a canister from a creator set, and there's even another one. So, there's a lot of different canisters. Obviously these are probably from older sets. So you don't really see canister sets really at all anymore. But what you do with them is up to you. Obviously, displaying them, they look cool. They do take up quite a bit of space, but probably not much more than boxes do. They are harder to stack, so you're probably going to need to make more stacks of them, to be fair, unless you want some precarious balancing going on there. But small price to pay because the canisters look epic. But really, you can pretty much just display them somewhere. And they take up space. Pros and cons are pretty much the same as for stacking and displaying boxes, more or less. Really, it's not too much different except for the thing they're doing with our canisters. Then, of course, you can do the deep storage, garbage bag thing. And the only real difference between this and with boxes is that you can't collapse the canisters, really, except for the one exception that I mentioned. And there might be more that I'm not aware of, but out of what I have, that is the one exception. And you can all just pour them into a garbage bag, but you can't collapse them down, and then you can just put them in storage or something. wherever your storage location is. Really, the benefits of that are kind of the same. In your Lego room, wherever, you have more room to do other things, which I guess is nice. Or you could, look at cool canisters, but I digress. You have more space to do more things, and it's pretty nice. And of course, if you want to get your canisters back out, you just go to that garbage bag, pull it open, pull out your canisters, and do whatever you need with them. I don't know. I don't know what you do with canisters besides, like, look at them and put your Bionicle in them. Really, those are the main things you do, but if you put your Bionicle in them, you're probably going to store them more like you'd store pieces or something, or just kind of stack them up on the floor. I don't know. I never stored my Bionicles in the canisters. I just left them out in the open and let them fight amongst themselves instead of, quarantining all of them. But really, that is all I have for talking about box storage. It's pretty cut and dry, all things considered. Really, all you can do is either throw them away, and if you're not throwing away, either collapse them or put them somewhere, or just kind of display them or something. So really not too much to go over in this one. But that is not the case with the next episode. I don't know when the next episode is coming out, just ahead of time. It's not like the first 5 episodes where they were all scheduled out when they would release. But coming, hopefully sometime in the future, will be the next episode of the Organizing Legos series, Episode 7, which will be about keeping an inventory of your collection. So that will be very exciting. That's actually one of the videos that I'm really excited for in this series, because I've not really seen too much as far as in the realm of Lego organizing as to like what you do to keep inventories. So we're talking about like why you would even care to do that, and some inventorying tools you can use to do so in that video. So that'll be pretty exciting when we're actually getting towards the end of this series. So not too much else left, but stay tuned for next week. Not next week, I don't know. I don't know when this is coming out. Hopefully soon, but stay tuned for next time when we talk about keeping an inventory of your collections. So once again, that's going to do it for this episode of the Organizing Lego series. Thanks everybody so much for watching, and goodbye.